I came to my girlfriend's house and caught men snoring in her bed. I pulled out and threw him on the floor and yelled, "Surprise!" Back in the late 90s, I was in my early 20s, I met this fairly sophisticated woman in her mid-30s. We were both expats, contracted by the same .com business. Since we both had to travel extensively, and as I thought we're both single, sooner or later we ended up in the same hotel room in a foreign city. Over the course of the next months, we had lots of fun after work, and one could say we were romantically involved. In retrospect, I knew nothing about her personal life/background. A couple of months later, I had to go on a last-minute business trip to her hometown, right when she took a couple of days off to spend back home with her family. Figured I'd surprise her, and didn't say a word to her about my trip. As I show up at her place with a cab, I notice that a car is parked in front of the garage and see that the TV is playing through the window. So figured she was home. Still all pumped to surprise her, I walk to the back of the house and get in through the back door. Can't find her on the first floor, so I walk upstairs, to find a bald middle-aged dude sleeping in her bed, while she was not there. Not sure what happened exactly with my brain, but I grabbed the naked guy, drag him out of the bed onto the floor. Somehow he couldn't move, and he started to scream for help. At that point, I notice a wheelchair in the corner of the room, which somehow brought me back to my senses. And then he says, "You must be my real name." I was perplexed. It turns out he was her husband, and he became paralyzed years earlier in a car accident. She took care of him, but since she was still a healthy lady, they both agreed that she could see other men to pleasure her, as long as she would be honest about it to him. Something she never told me. I helped him in his pajamas and wheelchair, and we took the elevator downstairs waiting for her to come home. One of the coolest dudes I've ever met. At that point the fun with the woman stopped, as I found it way too awkward now that I knew her husband. A few years later, after leaving the .com, I was on another business trip in that particular town and called them. Took the guy out to the local pub for a good amount of beers, something we repeat every time I'm around. Cheating wife got home from AP not knowing that I had prepared a revenge plan for her. Long story short, married to wife 11 year, 2 kids 11 and 9. She cheated for 8 months, I knew for the last 3. I did not confront her until I had evidence lined up, including video, and a separation agreement in hand from a solid lawyer. This is about 9 months ago, I guess it would be called D-Day here. I waited for her to get home from her AP. She had no idea that I knew anything. The second she saw me sitting at the table, she got very nervous. I asked her to sit down because we needed to talk. I was totally cried out at this point and didn't really care. I had decided that divorce was the only option the day I first found out. Wife sits down looking very panicked. "Wife, you are scaring me. What is this about?" Me, "I am not here to discuss your infidelity, I know everything. I am here to sort out our separation and divorce." I put my wedding ring on top of the folder with the separation agreement inside and pushed it in front of her. The wife starts bawling, begging, apologizing, pleading. All the usual stuff. We get nowhere, I just toss whatever she comes up with back in her face. "Wife, I love you." Me, "You hurt me the worst I have ever been hurt and sleep with other men because you love me so much?" After a couple of hours, I tell her to go to a hotel and that we will continue tomorrow. I tell her if she doesn't sign the separation agreement, I will tell everyone today what she has been doing. I know signed under duress, but at the time I just wanted it to Ned. She ends up signing, she leaves, and I receive messages and calls all night. I answer occasionally in one-short responses. Mainly, "I will not read this message or talk to you until tomorrow afternoon." The next day, the severity of the situation has sunk in with her. She begs for another chance, MC, etc., she will do anything. I informed her that I would file on Monday and that she had 90 days to convince me that divorce is a mistake. I don't know why I offered that. I was weak, I had decided to end it and I just folded. The next day I had prepared a list of things she had to do. I didn't show it to her, I just told her the list existed and unless she abided by it we would be NC apart from the kids and that the divorce would be unstoppable and I would inform everyone of what she had been doing. I also informed her that even perfect compliance was no guarantee that we would not divorce, that my trust in her at this point was below zero, and that I didn't even love her anymore. She destroyed what we had, and the only reason I considered reconciling and building something new was our kids. I didn't mean to say this, again I couldn't follow through on what I had decided to do. The list consisted of the following: 1. No lies. She had to make a document of everything she had done with him, describe how it started, what in her mind gave her the right to do this to me and to her own children. If she cut corners, rose-tinted anything, or omitted anything, all efforts on my part would be over. 2. Full access to all social media, phones, computer, her salary and bank statements. 3. She would report where she is and what she does at all times. 4. I see for her 2 to 3 times a week until she could understand her own choices, only later MC. She agreed, made the list, gave me access. Then I told her about point 5, 6, 7 in sequence only after she carried out each task. 5. She had to meet AP's wife face to face and tell her everything and hand over all the evidence she had and offer to be a witness in court if needed. She refused at first. She managed to say she couldn't do that to him. I pointed out that she made a choice, AP's feelings over her own family. If she didn't do this, this reconciliation attempt was over. I was going to tell AP's wife if she didn't. If she wouldn't own this, there was no willingness from my end. If I had to tell her, there would be no chance of ever reconciling. In the end, she agreed and actually told AP's wife everything. AP's wife slapped her, kicked her, pulled her hair, screamed at her. Wife took it and didn't fight back. I didn't protect her. She got some gashes and some bald spots. In the car afterwards, I informed her that AP had been seeing another woman in addition to my wife, and showed her the evidence from the PI I hired. I am ashamed of how much I enjoyed watching her pain when she realized she was just another piece of meat to this guy. 5. She had to explain herself to the kids and what the likely outcome for our family would be. 6. Explain what she had done to everyone in our family and our friends. 7. I would have an affair for 3 months, I would lie to her face, sneak around behind her back. Form a deep emotional relationship with another woman. I needed her to understand what she asked me to forgive, the humiliation, the pain. She would understand we risked that I could fall in love and leave her for my AP. At the end of the 3 months, I would tell her everything truthfully. Number 7 was especially hard on both of us. I would sneak around and act like I was cheating. I had Tinder installed. I would make sure she got glimpses of it every now and again. I would pretend I was secretly texting. I would go out and be gone all night. I would go away for weekends. In reality, I wasn't seeing anyone. I just stayed in hotels, rented cabins and Airbnbs. I would just get drunk most of the time and cry. Wife was freaking out more and more. I felt terrible as well. I hated it. I could barely do it, and I was only pretending? She did it with such ease. I think this is the hardest part for me. I can't see her in the same light. I wanted to show her what she asked me to forgive, but instead I learned what a horrible person you have to be to do this to someone else. We are now an MC and she is making progress, me not so much. Some days are worse than others, I guess. For now I keep the divorce papers on the ready. For some reason I have not pulled the trigger. Not entirely sure if I understand why. We haven't been very close, but we are not fighting anymore, so I guess that is progress. She is very apologetic. I know we have a long way to go. Who knows where we will end up? I can't get past how terrible I felt when I pretended, yet she did it with ease. I just can't see her in a positive light. I see her as a monster. I wish I ended it the first day, but now that I have dragged us both so far along. Is there any way for me to move past seeing her like this? I have forgiven the rest, I just can't get past this. Edit, I told her that I hadn't actually been seeing anyone after just 7 weeks. I couldn't keep up the charade, I just felt horrible from it. Update. Me and my wife have been up all night after I showed her the post yesterday. Here is an update and some comments and reflections. We know our chances of success is very low and that it will probably take many years before we are past the worst of it. But we both agreed this morning that we are committed to try. She was absolutely devastated by some of the things I said and many of the comments. Still, in the end, we managed to have a real conversation. Even though we both try, we don't always succeed with that. To everyone that spoke to me in absolutes, it's a totally different thing to be in the middle of something like this compared to looking at it from the outside. Nothing is clear or easy. Emotions are overwhelming, and even deciding to get up in the morning to face a new day is almost impossible. If I were to try to explain how hard it is to think clearly and to make good choices, I will give you this. Imagine you are living your life, you are on top of the mountain, you can see to the horizon in all directions, and you have no doubts. Your mind and thoughts are clear. You know who you are and what you want and where you want to go. Then imagine being yanked from the top of the mountain, stuffed in a dark sealed coffin and spun around so fast that all your blood rushes down to your legs. You are almost passing out, you can barely think, you are getting nauseous and dizzy, and you want to throw up more than anything. This is the closest I can get to explain the trauma my brain experienced. Of course, I will make some bad choices in such a state. I think everyone will make bad choices in this state. To those that was telling us we were hurting our children, we don't think so. We talk to our kids and they are very grateful that we have told them and kept them involved in our efforts. As my youngest put it, it's my family too. They have more faith in us than we have, and they are grateful that we ask their advice and opinions. We have been very careful to let them know we will not accept that they choose sides. We have also been very clear that none of this is their responsibility or fault. They have told us they like being involved and helping us together and as individuals. They will dish out encouraging words and extra hugs when they feel we need it. They accept that this might not be possible to fix, but they have told us that they will be disappointed if we give up without trying properly. The first few months were very stressful, but after things calmed down, they are very grateful for being allowed to be involved. Some of their friends are in situations where their families are breaking up and their friends feel like they are mushrooms, kept in the dark and fed crap. So our kids are better off than us, it seems. And I just hope we don't disappoint them too much. To those who thought I was psychotic and wondered how I could be so hard and torture my wife while offering reconciliation. To be clear, on D-Day I had no intention of offering anything. I was determined to just end it as soon as possible. I was still determined to do so when she came back the next day, when she offered to do anything, begged me to give her a chance. At that point I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave her. I felt weak, I was ashamed of myself, I was angry, I wanted her to suffer. But deep down I still loved her, I just couldn't admit it or end it. I took some thinking time, made the list, and made my demands. I never, in my wildest dreams, expected her to agree to the toughest terms. I did not expect her to tell the AP's wife, I did not expect her to tell our kids, families, and friends, and I definitely didn't expect her to stand by me in my pretend revenge affair. Truth be told, I wanted her to give up, but I also wanted her to suffer. I was convinced that her suffering would make me feel better. It didn't. As she did everything I asked, I could no longer deny that she was being sincere, that she wanted to work things out, that she was regretful for what she had done. She has been putting everything she can into reconciling. I must sadly admit I have not. I have been searching for some reason to give up and leave, or to make her give up and leave. I have been incredibly cruel at times, I have vented my fury at her, and I am a terrifying guy. She has just taken it. She doesn't try to excuse herself, she just takes it. She told me she has never been afraid of me. I am not sure I believe that. She tells me she knows I would never physically attack or hurt her. I am not so sure of myself. I have been pretty close a few times. I hope I never ever pass that line. I am terrified I might permanently injure or destroy someone. To those that asked about her reasons for doing it, we have sort of concluded that she felt stagnant and trapped. Our life was too safe and comfortable. It hit her hard after her best friend died, and she was vulnerable to a snake charmer that knew exactly what type of bull smoke to blow up her arse. She feels con now and struggles badly with reconciling her choices with the person she believed herself to be. We have learned that this was a pattern with her AP. He had been cheating on his wife with 2 to 3 women at the time since before they started dating. We even found out he has 2 illegitimate sons. As to me, I had not really committed to reconciliation fully. I am a very hard person, I can take and dole it out. I managed to convince myself that I would feel better if my wife suffered. I would be okay with just walking away, if I found a good enough reason to give up. I was wrong. I have been searching for reasons to not get close to her again, and I still am deeply wounded. I was scared of letting her get close and getting hurt again. This has prevented us from making any real progress in reconciling. She has been the only one totally committed. Several people ask me if I am just as good at giving out love as I am punishment, and the answer to that is no. But I am working on it now. I have forgiven her, but I have kept her distant while trying to find a reason strong enough to overcome my love for her so I could leave. I will change that and make a real genuine effort to reconcile. If we fail, but I will give it my very best try from here on in. Even if I risk getting hurt again. A lot of people condemned my wife. Some people pointed out that she is just human and made some bad choices. As things are now, I am in charge of the consequences for her bad choices. It's not a role I want. I have thought about this a lot. I also make mistakes. I will act irrationally and am very, very cruel to her at times. Me punishing her has driven me literally mad with hatred and anger. Sometimes I have no control over it. She made some bad choices and lost control, as I am still doing. We are just human, both of us. I need to work on ways to move past this together. I will get off my high horse and try to be 50% of this relationship and to be 50% of the effort trying to work it out. As for my wife, the day after D-Day she had accepted that I was destroyed serious. There was nowhere to hide, no forgiveness, nothing. She knew that her chances to save her family were slim at best, but she would do anything to try. It's clear now that she never actually loved AP, she loved the thrill, the fantasy. She told me she is grateful for my ironclad, rock-hard approach. It ripped her out of the affair fog, smacked some sense into her and got her focused front and center on what was important. She also felt that her punishment was justified and it helped her to not hate herself as much. She has thanked me so much for not letting her off the hook and pushing through. She is punishing herself harder than I ever did. She has contemplated ending herself even, but she didn't do it at the time because she felt she would get off too easy. I found out that she has been hurting herself since D-Day. She has beaten herself, pinched herself. I mean, the entire backside of her leg is shades of purple. It's one continuous black mark. This is of course not helpful. We have agreed to focus on her forgiving herself. We cannot heal unless that happens. In a way, it's strange. Now that she just wants to punish herself, she has lost all the traits that I fell in love with in the first place. Her humor, smile, well-thought-out opinions, self-esteem, her loving patience, etc. I don't think it's helpful for me redeveloping any feelings towards her when her punishing herself suppresses the very things I loved about her. The reasons I got together with her and married her in the first place. So all in all, we have made some progress thanks to all the helpful strangers on the internet. We have a long way to go, but we have identified some big hurdles to get past. We actually slept in the same bed for the first time since D-Day, so there is that. It was nice to sleep next to her again. I still love her, and I kind of hate myself for it. But then I think about my kids and it gives me strength to keep at it. We will try to create something new since the old relationship is gone at this point. Update. This will be my last activity on this account. It has done its job and I am very grateful for all the help from everyone. It's been overwhelming at times, but I am okay, or I should say we are okay. Since I decided to make a full-hearted effort to reconcile, things have improved drastically. We have even started to bond a little again. My wife, or my old wife, the one I fell in love with, is starting to show up more and more. We go to lots of therapy and we are making a lot of gains on communication, and we have started being intimate regularly. It's still early days and odds are stacked against us, but we are making surprisingly good progress. I am trying to make sure I appreciate her every day, and she is trying to do the same. I still have periods of crippling emotional pain, she does as well. But all in all, it's more and more good times than bad. I think we will be okay, kinds are good, and I am hopeful for the future. Update. I got some requests for an update. So we are separated. We were doing well on reconciliation. My wife did pretty much everything right from her end. She struggled to forgiving herself, basically she hates her own guts. On the other hand, I managed to suppress my feelings for a while. And this is the problem, right under the surface, my feelings were still boiling. Emasculation, betrayal, lies, humiliation, anger, all boiling right under the surface. As a result, I reverted back to being mean, vindictive, angry. And I don't want to be that guy anymore. So we have separated to get some space. We will try to get back to trying reconciliation later for the sake of the kids. So that's the status. Sometimes it's not possible to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. I am not hopeful that we will make it in the end. Wife ruined our perfect marriage by her one-night stand with a random guy who gave her an STD. Back in 2018, at the end of July, my wife, 34F, left for a quick work trip on a Thursday and flew home Saturday morning. That evening my wife and I, 32M, went to my stepdad's birthday dinner, and nothing seemed off or anything, totally normal. Sunday we did our typical routine, grocery shopping, errands, and got ready for the work week. The following Monday when the work week started, everything seemed normal and we did our usual texting throughout the day, but on my way home from work she texted me. I think I have a yeast infection and I'm going to go get it checked out. I said, "Ah crap, that sucks," and I made a joke saying hopefully it's not an STD lol. She lolled back and that was that. A few hours later, before I had seen her, she texted me and said, "Your comment earlier about it being an STD was weird. You don't think I'm cheating on you, do you?" I kind of laughed and texted back, "No lol, but something about that comment, for her to say that, just put me off a little." Thinking nothing of it, I went back to whatever I was doing. Looking back, this was red flag number 1. 2 days went by and she said that it got worse and that she was going back in. I thought to myself, damn, I feel bad for her because I know she has had something like this mildly before, but never this bad. When she came home from the doctor for the second time, she said she now has thrush and a severe yeast infection. I remember thinking to myself, WTF is thrush, and she explained to me how it's a throat infection. I remember joking with her saying, "Well, if you're sick, stay away from me because I don't want to get sick," and I'm so glad I did stay away. Looking back, all of this was red flag number 2. For the next couple days and into the weekend she was pretty much bedridden. She called into work and did some work things from home that she could. I remember not getting too close to her those handful of days and just kind of looking at her while she was either in bed or on the couch, and just feeling bad. She was clearly sick and there wasn't really anything I could do. The following week, as she started to feel better, that's when I noticed something was going on with her. One day I came home from work and she was crying on the couch. I asked her what was wrong. She said that she was going to start seeing a counselor. I was a bit puzzled, but I said okay, and that if I was going to go too or if I needed to go. She said no, and that she just hasn't been feeling herself and needed to talk to someone. I said okay. Red flag number 3. A few days later I get out of the shower and she's sitting on the bed crying again. I asked, "What's going on?" She said to me, "Is this as good as it gets? Is this what we want? This what you want? Is this what I want? Is there anything more to life than this?" I remember being a little caught off guard because it took a second to register what she was asking. I didn't really know what to say and I asked her, like, "What do you mean?" She just responded with a "never mind," and I can't recount what happened after that. Then on August 14, 2018 at 9 p.m. we are getting in bed and she starts crying again. I ask her, "What's the matter?" and she starts crying even harder. I told her, "I know something's been going on these last couple weeks, and whatever it is, I just want you to know I love you, and whatever it is we will work through it." She said, "I can't tell you. If I tell you want to work it out." It was in that moment I started to feel the butterflies, adrenaline or whatever you want to call it hit my stomach, and I said, "Please tell me." Then, she hit me with it, "I had a one-night stand." It was in that moment all the red flags, all the little things that were going on in those previous weeks all came together, like one big puzzle. Here's the story. When she was through with work for the day, she went to a bar to have a drink before going back to her hotel. She sent me a picture of the beer she was drinking, and I said the nightly "love you goodnight." While she was at the bar she met a guy, with the same name as me, go figure. She ended up talking to him all night and having a few more drinks, and they left the bar about 2 a.m. They went back to his house and where she then gave him a BJ, and then they has contact without protection. I asked her if he finished in her, she said no and that he pulled out and did it on her stomach, but I don't know for sure. Turns out he had HSV and ended up giving it to her, and that yeast infection and thrush in her throat was actually the HSV outbreak. I remember feeling absolutely heartbroken, devastated, shocked and in disbelief when she told me everything that had happened. I was pretty messed up for a few months following D-Day, so much that I had to get on meds for a while to get me straight. I knew something was physically wrong with me because I felt like total crap all the time, and turns out I had a BP of 149 to 127. No wonder I felt like crap. I would say we had a good marriage. We were everyone's favorite couple. My dad even called us Ken and Barbie. In just trying to give you some context, because we were not dysfunctional or have some serious and obvious marital issue, but I guess what happened kind of proves otherwise. I remember when I told some of my close friends and family, everyone had the same wide-eyed look and the same "are you serious" response. Was a total shock to me as well as everyone that knew us. She's been going to a counselor this entire time and digging into everything of what happened. The whys, the hows, the whats, all of it. She has me told she doesn't know why out of all the times she's been hit on by guys, why she gave in this time. It doesn't really matter though, because what's done is done and all it takes is one time to bring a marriage crumbling down. She did say he made her feel wanted, gave her attention, and I guess validated her by telling her she was beautiful. If that's all it took, she has her own issues to deal with, and unfortunately she wants adult enough to really get them out or say that something was really wrong before it was too late. I understand that it takes two to tango and I had a role in all of this, but I can't take any responsibility for the way she acted, treated me, our marriage and the damage she has caused. I can, though, understand where I should have been better as a husband. I should have been more attentive, more present, just more of whatever she felt she needed. Lessons learned. It's been over a year and a half, we are separated, but this is still a major roadblock for me in my life. I have chosen to walk away from her and our marriage, and I struggle because this is never what I wanted. She wants to stay together and make it work, but for me the damage is too great. Over this last year and a half I do think she has tried to do the right things to try to make it work, but with the STD involved, I just can't. With all of what happened and knowing the details, I just can't do it, and guess when I say I can't, I'm really saying I choose not to. For me, the disrespect is too great, the humility too much, an act that was just uncalled for, so selfish. It's sad because she knows she ruined a perfectly normal marriage, and wishes she could take it back, and wants a redo, but she made her choices that night. Plenty of them that led her down that path. I don't think I'll ever understand how she could leave the bar with him, get in his car, drive with him, get to his house, go inside, go into his bedroom. There are so many gates and red flashing lights and ringing bells and all that, it's just unbelievable, but she made every one of those choices. I've tried to be aware of my pride and keep it in check, and I ask myself, why can I not move forward with her? For me it comes down to my values and beliefs, and what has happened goes against everything I believe in and stand for, lots of cognitive dissonance. Then the whole STD aspect that will never go away and will always be a constant reminder of what she did, and I choose to not put myself at risk of getting it. Mentally and emotionally it's just too much. Plus, I just don't see her in the same light, or view her the same way. I've lost the respect and admiration I had for her. There are a lot of layers to this onion, and it's crazy how something like this can change your entire life, physically and emotionally. Together since 2007, married 2014, no kids, not financially dependent on each other.